Stay right there. What are you waiting for? Kill him! Kill them both! No, wait a minute. Is it money you're after? I'll give you as much as you want.
May the saints forgive you, because I won't.
No, I'll let you guys start talking. I mean, I think that's, unless you want to do you want to do an intro, Zack?
No. I was just wondering.
This is Threshold Saints.
There we go. That was beautiful.
Hyperspace Kingdom, Genuflect Part 2, with Zack, Shumar, and Zack, CK.
Hello.
Hello.
So
We're here.
I'm really glad to hear that. So thank you both for coming on again. This is our part 2. Honestly, I didn't tell you guys this pre-recording because I was actually saving it for when I hit record. Is that the episode that the three of us did together has been my favorite episode that I've ever done. So
Cool.
Awesome.
And
Hopefully it gets a good reception.
I think it will, because all the Twyman episodes, both of you have done incredibly well. And then so we'll just,
I think people are interested in Twyman because there's a lot of mystery around what happened, and most of her work has just been completely scrubbed,
And and that just right there, it's like, it's not only that her work was scrubbed, but because it went so deep. She went so deep into so many different things that it's like, we don't want people looking at these things. I'd rather not have the populace see what she was talking about.
And it really was things that I heard nobody else talk about ever.
Right.
So that's why I really became obsessed with her work.
It was
Just kind of
a very
studied it for a
unique
while.
perspective.
Yeah.
I have been thinking about this, how to contextualize Tracy. And I know that some people were probably expecting me to deal with the material that you guys have brought me. I think they wanted me to treat it like a biographical product of Tracy, but
Her life.
the mythos. I'm really inspired by the land stuff, like the chronopoesis, parafiction, and speculative ontology. I thought that was the best way to approach it, just because of the controversy around some of the people that have tried to deconstruct the narratives around it. And so I thought it is alchemical because it helps the narrative, like her actual ideas. I felt like it helps it rise higher, like it lets it transcend the darkness of the narrative of her life, who she was. And then now we can take her ideas and apply it to what we're seeing, not necessarily even the news, but just what we see day to day, like to reality itself.
I'm much more interested in her ideas than her life. I think her ideas are the most interesting part.
Totally.
Which should live on for sure.
Yeah. Obviously contains a lot of what she did in her life, but most of what she did in her life was just doing deep research. Like that's what she did, looking into crazy things and writing about it and then making videos about it and talking about it with people. So like, obviously you could talk about her relationships and stuff like that, but it's much more effective, I guess, to just focus on the ideas that she was talking about, because that's, if we were to believe the conspiracy, that's kind of what got her excised.
Yeah, I think she really was onto a lot of things that were accurate, and I think that had a lot to do with what ultimately led to her death. So,
No.
So this is something that I guess we've avoided. Not necessarily that you two have avoided, but like I guess I avoided it a little. Was directly addressing like what her life became or was or whatever. Just for me, I agree with what Zack said. It's just the ideas have to transcend the person regardless of that person. It's not that we obviously the best way, in my opinion, to pay homage is through the life. And then I think that one of the klipas, you could say, that maybe other people have towards her work or her as a person is they want to mire you in the complications of the relationships that she had with many people. And I think that it's just easier to just say, well, at least from my perspective, it's easier to just cleave that away and say, okay, we're just going to look at the work totally fresh, because it was new to me when both of you brought it, right? So she was like a totally new researcher, didn't know her life story, didn't know her work. And of course I had like a way of looking, like tantric Buddhism has a way of looking at the world that is very non-dual, very magical, very speculative, very ontological. Like that's all of that's baked in. So that's like that was kind of my like set point go. So it's easier for me perhaps to approach it knowing less about her personally, and then to sort of like, as we've done, react. I can like kind of live react, I guess. It's not really, because obviously I prep, but it is kind of like that. And so I kind of live react to things that I think are magically interesting. And I think that the thing I find interesting about Tracy's work is she is alluding, it's not really alluding, she's really explicitly saying like the augmented reality games, this is not just a psychological operation. This is actually like there's like a metaphysical implication to these games and what the construction of reality is, because what is a fundamental component in reality is your mind and your perception. So your engagement with the game.
Yeah, and I also think that it kind of comes down to like what consensus is.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think reality is much more fixed than, I think that's like the Buddhist understanding too, is that reality can change like that. It's also fluid.
That's how I often have described it.
Yeah, I agree.
Nothing is eternal necessarily.
That's right. There's no like Buddhism is very anti-eternalist. So
yeah, and I would
everything's kind of in flux.
I would even like take it into like a physics realm too, where like particles are never like fully stopped. They're always in motion, just vibrating slightly depending on temperature. Even I mean, you can get to absolute zero, and that's supposedly whenever the particles would stop. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that like there's always movement in reality. Even if you see a cup sitting on a table that they're both still, there's no movement going on. There's still movement inside the actual items.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
Yeah, I'm a little trippy.
It's not though, because that's what Tracy's work is.
It's all pretty trippy.
Yeah. It is very psychedelic, but there's a way that you can, I think if you understand metaphysics enough, there is a way to kind of materialize or concretize these broader sort of psychedelic surrealist. It's very like the simulacra, like it's very like, well, what's real? What is it, the flavor? Is it the fruit? That's what our film teacher always used to say. Like, is it the strawberry gum or is it the strawberry itself? So I just think that there's a way that you can understand it's both and neither. Like it's all bullshit, and you have to kind of like perceive what's deeper. It's a very Luciferian inclination, but there's something interesting I think about that, because I think you can sort of peel away layers in text. So like in Tracy's books particularly, so you can kind of peel away the twilight.
I think we did pretty much explain the basic concept of these hidden hyperspace kingdoms in the last podcast, but the way that Tracy sort of arrived to the conclusion, I think, is through her interpretations and decodings of Masonic tracing boards. So, I mean, you guys can all look this up, all the listeners. There's plenty of different versions of it. Okay, so there are the 3 pillars that you see in front of Solomon's temple. There's Joachim, Boaz, and then there's the center pillar. And you'll see on the left is the sun, on the right is the moon, and then the middle is, it's usually like the hexagram, or it's an all-seeing eye, or sometimes it's like this keystone diamond, or a
Stars,
square,
I've seen stars.
square and compass, or sometimes it's like a bigger and brighter sun.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you'll notice the middle pillar is the only one which reaches from the total top to the bottom. Like it's like the main, it's the main staircase from the top to the bottom.
And I'd also add to that it's set back further on the board.
I've got that here too.
Okay.
So yeah, so in the normal tree of life, you'll see they're all evenly spaced apart, but the higher dimensional aspect of these tracing boards, unlike in the tree of life where the pillars are spaced evenly apart, the pillars in these tracing boards are not like this. So this is showing that these are multi-dimensional images. They're arranged in a way where if you are looking from the top, they would form into a right-angled triangle, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking from the front, as you can see as you guys can see, Jen and Zach, when you're looking from the front, you wouldn't really see the third middle pillar at a first glance. It's kind of off to the side. And it's different in other ones. In some of these boards, you can like barely see it at all. So, and what Tracy was saying is that this is kind of showing us that you need to look at that pillar from a certain angle, and certain light has to hit your eyes in a certain way to be able to see what's between the Yakin and Boaz, the first and second pillars.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, in the middle where there's like that bigger sun, there is, I guess the idea is, so in this particular tracing board, there you see a keystone in the middle and then the sun on the left and the sun on the right. And Tracy's idea was that there was something which she called hyper-Uranian light. It is light that is kind of outside of the dome, I guess. It is outside of this cosmos, wherever all the chaos is. And so our sun is sort of acts as a filter that allows in some of this light, but keeps out too much of it because our eyes wouldn't be able to handle it, basically.
It almost reminds me of I'm sure you guys have seen this image, the Gnostic image of the guy sticking his hand out of the pleroma or something, and there's like the two separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Good. That's what I was thinking.
So the trans-Uranian thing is so interesting because I recently interviewed Patrick Moise, and he was telling me, I already knew this, but I had never spoken about it. So credit to him for like bringing it up as a topic. But so he was talking about how Kenneth Grant was into the trans-Plutonian. And so then it also came to this exact thing that Tracy was into this idea of the trans-Uranian. And I was thinking today, for a specific reason, but I won't say, but of the trans-Neptunian. So the outer three have these transitive properties that kind of push us away from the traditional 7 or 9, depending on how you think of it. I just was thinking that's really interesting to hear.
No, that is interesting.
Because, like I think I even said this last time, like a perpetual, those like the perpetual, I don't want to call them perpetual balls, that sounds weird, but the perpetual motion machines that have the click-clack balls, those are like death. That's what Pluto does. It kind of like comes in and out. It's very like a momentous planet. And then the way that they show Uranus, it has the up vertical rings. So it kind of has a guillotine-like quality if you're coming in from the downward swing, like Pluto does. It's related to, or the embodiment of, Uranus. Now, she can also be Aquarius, but we're just putting that aside right now. And then you have Mahabhairava or Vajrabhairava as Pluto. That would actually make sense for the alchemical symbol that he wears on his crown. I'm just saying it also makes sense for Chinnamasta, because if you look up the alchemical symbol for Uranus, it is like 3 streams. Just like the blood is flowing in 3 streams after she severs her own head.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there's a headless, what I'm trying to say is there's a headless deity mythos sort of embaked in this idea of the trans-Plutonian. Do you think the father takes us outside of the cube, or the trans-Uranian? Do you think that the mother takes us out of the cube?
I think it's probably both.
Yeah.
That makes more sense from a tantric perspective, to have the unification rather than the separation.
Mm-hmm.
I did not mean to interrupt you on your awesome thing on trans-uranium. It just struck me, and I was reminded of that conversation.
I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I do think that there is kind of like competing theories of magic. I think that's what ARGs also are. It's like different ones. You could say the algorithm is the biggest purveyor of the ARG, because it sort of creates individual realities around people on their timeline. I don't know, just an idea.
Oh, it's interesting. So I guess this idea of this hyper-Uranian light does kind of depend on a closed system model of the cosmos.
Well, she falls back down, right? It's not Buddhism.
Yeah.
She falls back down. So she doesn't get to liberate. Only in Tantric Buddhism does she get to liberate. That's kind of the trick. She gets to be a sky dancer.
Sky dancer. Yeah. I love it. But going off of this idea of the like hyper-Uranian light, which comes from outside of our little closed cosmos that we have, the old world, as known in Solomon's time, is what the Masons write that these boards depict. But I guess Tracy thought this was our world still, and I guess our whole cosmos. But the idea of it that connects to these hidden hyperspace kingdoms is that if there's a way to safely use some of this light, then we would be able to see some of these like hyperdimensional things, whether it's through like technology or magical initiation or astrological knowledge.
It's all the things.
Yeah,
that's what's happened to us post.
Oh no, you're good.
2020. I think that's why everyone's like. It seems like there's been a rush to illuminate people, to like let them see that there's so much more reality behind religion, behind like signs and symbols, because signs and symbols is just basic language, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the increase of like this, what is they promise is going to be insane technology. I do believe in Sochki. I have my reservations about the potency of the technology that we have seen. I'm talking specifically like AI and the chatbots.
I would even say that, yes, there is tech that is real that they're developing. I'm almost certain of this. But the thing that really it comes down to is a lot of people already don't understand the tech that they're already fully engulfed in. They have no idea how any of this stuff is created. They have no idea how it's programmed. It's magic to them. So whenever you introduce a new technology that's so much further advanced than what they currently have, that they already don't know what it is, it's virtually indistinguishable from magic. And then that way you could introduce new things, new quote unquote technologies that aren't actually technology, but people would believe they are. I mean, this is what they're accusing Chachki of. You could say that we have X, Y, and Z stuff. You really don't. But for reference, I think Chachki is very much doing something. He has real code. He knows what he's doing. He's developed an RNG, like a linear RNG, and then he's working on the quantum, or he has the quantum one. But that's besides the point.
I'll be buying the dip. I will.
The coin is cool and everything, but I'm really just excited to see the actual quantum processor. Yeah. That's what I want to see brought to commercial market, to see what comes of that, because, you know, it's very scary to me because Like I just said, most of these people don't even understand the technology, and then you're going to drop quantum technology on them. It's really stirring the pot to say.
Well,
I think Sachi would agree with that. He would say it's both.
I would say there is a distinction, though, made to make between technology that is so advanced that it is basically magic. Like all technology is pretty much magic, but there is actual magical technology. So,
absolutely,
yeah,
big part of what is, especially if you're in the material. Like I know Zack S dabbled quite a lot in alchemy, and so if you're more in the material this, or in the, it's not just, it doesn't have to be materialism sciences, but it can also be like in the OTO or in the Astrum Argentum. Like I've had people from both of those organizations on this show. So I'm just saying is that if you're doing ritual magic, you need the tools, just like I need my Vajra, I need my rosary. You know, you have to have all your implements, or not my
yeah, and that is a technology in a way.
Absolutely. And it's made in a ritually prescribed way of a ritually prescribed material. Yeah, it's very similar. Like I agree with you, Zach. It's all, I mean, but I think Zach S also agrees is that it's magic is absolutely fundamentally it's like amplified. It's a tool. It's like a Rahuvian, a dragon tool that is made of crystals, like black mirror, pearls, green. It has like the perfect, it's like very benign, its sensibility, Saturn for people, for the normies. But it's also very Rahu. That's really what it is, because the software, the Ketu, exists inside of it, the smoky or subtle body. That's sort of my working theory right now.
This even ties in to what we were talking about before, because you said you had the guy from the Newport Tower, was it? Or you were going to get him on or something? Okay, so look, I was looking into that tower, and we talked about this a little bit, but in his book, they have these little windows that were set up in this tower. And it was set up in a way that when a certain time of the day, a certain time of the year, light would shine through this window, and it would basically be like, what the hell was the precursor to the camera? I forgot what it was called. Like not that the pinwheel or pinhole camera or something. But what basically you would set this up in a certain time of the day, of a certain time of the year, it would basically put refracted image of the outside in this little cutout on the wall. So I said this is a joke to Jin, but it's like, imagine scaring the hose with a television set in 1600s.
Yeah.
They would be amazed. And that kind of brings me back to this, like the Twyman stuff, is that keystone. There is a Masonic image of Masons that are doing a ritual, which is showing this light coming through their temple, which like this hyperborean light coming through their lodge onto a mirror and then like bouncing onto their table, and it's like illuminating a diagram of Solomon's temple. And that could be seen as another form of technology, like this certain keystone, like spiritual technology.
That even reminds me, what was the one movie where, was it like The Mummy or something, where they go into some big room and then they just twist a mirror and it lights the whole room up?
I don't know if I'm familiar with it, but
I don't know, whatever. But it reminds you of that.
No, it's interesting. Just this whole manipulation of light, being able to make us see higher dimensional things. I think it was Twyman who talked about this, but I think it's the color pink is like that's just our brains perceiving the color pink. We don't actually know what is there. It's something that's outside of our light spectrum. And there's certain animals, there's like a shrimp that sees like 32 more colors than us.
I think scientifically it's called a qualia.
Okay.
I think it's like quality and qualia. Qualia is like your perception of it, and the quality is like the standardization of it.
No, this is right. I've spoken about this too. I did not take it from Tracy. I just want to say that. But it's really interesting that you're bringing this up, because that really corresponds to like my Aeon of the Daughter series and the pink ray, and then the Philip K. Dick's idea of the pink ray, and like what pink really is. It's the synthesis between red and blue and white, but it's kind of like this, exactly like what Zach said. It's a spectral color. It doesn't exist. It's something that has a crystalline matrix. like very Crystal Millennium Kingdom, like very like it's that's what it is.
Yeah,
Like
it's not in the rainbow. You won't
that's
see it in a
right.
rainbow.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So it's kind of like sparkling almost. And so our brains put pink on it. And so I gave an example of a mallow in an episode about how like a common mallow, but you could also think of a wild rose, like a pink wild rose, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's like the stamen is yellow, so it's like the corona, like the crown, and it's kind of rising. So what the pink does is it gives contour to the things that arise around it, the green leaves, and from it, the yellow crown. Something's very interesting Kabbalistically about that, because where do you have pink? You have pink at Yesod, Tiferet, and Dath, and also at Kether.
And even I've had an experience before on DMT where I was seeing colors and shapes that they don't exist in this reality. It couldn't have just been coming from my brain, I don't think, because I'm seeing colors and shapes that I'm looking at it and I'm not able to comprehend it as I see it. So
what I would say is that color might exist in reality, but you don't perceive it. You don't perceive it. For some reason, I think that's where I come at with like psychedelics and stuff, is like, it's not that it's like bringing stuff out of your head, but it's helping you perceive what you couldn't see.
Yeah, it's a deeper aspect of reality, really. And they tune you into different frequencies, you know?
Yeah.
The world is light and sound, and both of those things are waves.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
right?
And I think that's how New Agey stuff gets away with it, is because they use actual scientific lingo.
Yeah, exactly.
You can incorporate a lot of klipas in a jargon. That's why jargon's the worst enemy to like, it's kind of like my thing. I think that I like doing is something like we're doing right now, like deconstructing the idea. I think there's something really fun about breaking klipas. I think I learned so much from both of you, but like the pink thing is still blowing my mind, just simply because of Kurkula and her sort of association with that 22nd path, and her being one of the only pink takinis. I just think it's so interesting.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting? And I'm stealing this from Tracy as well, but she pointed out how the gay rainbow includes the color pink, and that pink is what's supposed to be representing the gayness, I guess.
Well, that flag is clearly very mother, like it's very so just like everyone's seen the meme. She holds a swastika and it swirls. It's a pinwheel. So like a pinwheel camera, you could even say. She only has one eye. So it's swirling. All reality is coming together. That's what you're visualizing. It's all like the rainbow is like on a single pointed focus. And then you're dispersing it because she's also a star. So you're seeing like the star in front of you. She has no quality really, but it's all the qualities, and you're bringing it all together in synthesis, and then you're self-combusting it. You're letting it go. It's kind of interesting if you think about it from a magical operation. Serious implications, like even seeing the psychedelics on like DMT. Like, what is it? Is it because pink is kind of like that perfect? I call it the color that reinforces Buddhist ontology as being primordially true, because pink is sort of the relative truth. It's kind of like it exists and it doesn't exist. It only exists in our perception. It's kind of the emptiness color.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, could that almost be like the intentional ritual behind it, where they get a flag that everybody can kind of put themselves under, and then
synthesize
9/11 it almost, like controlled demolition it.
Right? Bring it all together, bring everything together in dialectical synthesis to be consumed. That's what the idea is. It's not to be liberated, it's to be consumed back into the cycle. Because I think in their view, whoever they are, we are also like obviously moving it. We're like changing our aeonic cycle, if you want to call it like a more Gnostic language. I think we are actually changing our aeonic cycle. So if it's a swastika, it's the wheel of time. It's the North Star, the Polaris, the fixed star, but things have to move around it, just like the Ursa Major revolves around it, or appears to revolve around it, appearance, existence. So I think it's like illuminist, and it's also like socially divisive. thought
I
it
get-
was going to be unifying.
Just to like relate this to the Twyman stuff. So if there is this like higher light that's coming from outside of our cosmos, and we can find a way to safely use it, then we would be able to see these land masses that she's talking about, like these hyperdimensional land masses that I guess I have to go deeper into the interpretation, but yeah, we would be able to see this higher dimension, which would include these like kingdoms or like hidden land masses that and
Mhm.
societies that we have no idea exist. They just exist beyond our perception.
This makes a lot of sense to me, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense to me.
It makes sense to me. That's
Yeah.
why I got so into it.
It's not, and I don't mean in like a woo way, and I don't mean in like a conspiracy theorist, even though I am like obviously a conspiracy theorist and a truther in some ways, right? But this makes a lot of sense to me. That yeah, of course it does, because we share a subtle realm with the Nagas, but we live on the material realm. This is ours. But we share with the animals. Well, the animals actually share with us, so we kind of have a co-realm, but we're the rulers of the animals. But then all
Custodians.
right, exactly. And then all the other realms exist around us. I mean, this is very tantric, just very like. I guess that's also why it makes sense to me, is because it's just saying something in like a different way. But it's also interesting because what Zack is saying is like the hidden light. Well, when you're at Yesod, if you go to the dark side of the moon, the idea is that you go through a threshold and that you receive the hidden light, which is pink, just like Liber 49.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the moon.
Yes,
Yes.
I am.
And have you seen his lunar wave stuff?
I have not, actually. I should actually look that up.
You should look it up. It's very weird, but on certain nights, he records the moon pretty regularly. And on certain nights...
Oh, wait, yes, I did see this.
Yeah, there is a wave that goes through it and pulses through it. And it makes the moon look almost like...
A CRT.
Yeah, or like it's like a plasmic thing or something. It's very weird. But then someone else was talking. I think he later said that he realizes that one of his interpretations, I don't know if he still stands by this, but he said these are the souls of men coming in and out of earthly incarnation, like going through the moon. Well, what I find interesting, at least about the crow, like the lunar wave stuff, is that he's observed it many times, and so have like his listeners and other people that have tried this. And I believe he sent it to like different observatories and people like that, and they're all like, "Oh, that's just edited." But it's like, no, there's been so many people that have observed this, and I believe he says it happens on equinoxes or some significant astrological date. I don't remember which exactly, but it's just interesting that like what is that for? Apparently we know exactly what the moon is, or so they say. So you know what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the entry port. Like I said, it's the threshold.
Yeah.
So
it's the gate of heaven, gates of man.
That's right. And it's also in Kabbalah, that's also where we live, right? Like that's Yesodic consciousness. But you don't have to think of it like we live on the moon. Like maybe but maybe we just live in a Yesodic consciousness. Maybe we just live on the gate of heaven. It's there, like the hyperspace kingdoms. It's like a little bit beyond our perception. Thank you, Zack. So yeah, it's very similar. These are all overlapping kinds of,
and it also might be like how we were mentioning last episode. We live in a solar age, but it would make sense to follow a solar calendar. You know, just it makes sense that we live in a heliocentric. That's our conception of the cosmos at the moment.
Oh, this is actually very insightful, because this is something I do think about. Christ and what I think, or Jesus and what I think, and Christianity and what I think. People believe it. Like all the power to you. Like that's great. Then you should use that. If that's what you want to believe, then you should take that story and you should reach the apotheosis, or the end result of that theurgical method, and you should embrace it like as much as you can.
My problem with Christianity, or I guess Christians, is that most of them do not do that. And they tend to be the most aggressive between them and Muslims. Christ is king, like all knees will bow. And it's like, this is all literal. Like, that's a Gnostic heresy. They're very adamant in their thing, and it really repels me away.
That this is the truth, is that like every religion has their pros and cons. Every system has its pros and cons, and every religion also attracts people of that kind of dharma.
Well, and every religion has its exoteric and its esoteric elements too.
And that's sort of what the whole thing I'm thinking of like right now is like, how can we synthesize the two? Because it's not like I obviously recognize that institutional religion in general, ad hoc, has decayed to a significant degree. But you have to say the same for esoterica. If you're going to say the thing about one, you have to say it about the other. They're entwined.
Yeah, especially like, the New Age occultism.
Like, if this is what they would say is more context needed.
I think that the problem is there's so many people who want to LARP at a religion rather than actually do it. I'm not saying to do it is easy. I'm not saying that I'm perfect in doing it. I'm not even trying to tell people to do it. I think a outer tool is useful if you have no tools. If you have nothing to do, learn to do a rosary, because that will help you more than doing nothing, in my opinion. But it's people who don't even like, they just like the outer presentation or the identity. And I think something's interesting. Like, I was never really an identity politic person, but of course I have a little bit of Hapa supremacy or whatever, like as a LARP, or maybe a little, it's probably a little true as well, to be honest, but not like where I'm like, oh, I'm the best. I definitely think like, yeah, we have high median IQ, like whatever. I'll just like,
it's a good mix.
Right.
I think.
So I'm just like, I just own it. So I think like it's cool with me. But what I mean is I think people like identity politics so much.
Don't have their own identities.
That's right.
Comes down to
they're not comfortable in whatever they are. They don't like that. So okay, so change it. But that doesn't mean changing your label or changing your
I agree. But I would also say that I do think racial consciousness is somewhat important. Especially like you'll see it with white people now. They have no sense of it anymore. And maybe it's because of that term white, There's especially like in America.
That's exactly what it is. It's the term white. You're creating a new race of white people out of European people.
Yeah, in America it used to be like we have the the Anglos, and then we have the Irish and Italians. Everyone used to hate the Irish and Italians. And it's like, when can I start being racist to other white people?
Yeah, so it's funny too, because like Italians used to be known as swarthy. They weren't white.
Yeah, and there's even some Irish people that they call Black Irish.
Okay, let me just say for the record, I have said this on Twitter, so no big deal. But like, if you want to do white identity politics, or like, I agree that white people need a racial consciousness at the very least.
Yeah,
you got to figure it the fuck out. Like,
that's what I think. Just because there does seem to be, I hate to be even that guy. I'm not all about this, but white people's identity in general are kind of being attacked by certain elements. You can see it. You see it on Twitter. You see it in the media.
I see it being set up as like a false dichotomy. Like you're putting these quote unquote white people against these quote unquote black people. The whole scenario is just ridiculous, because in the white section there's 100 different nationalities, and in the black section there's 100 different nationalities, and all they're really doing is splitting the population up, being like, oh, it's literally the Family Guy meme of him holding up the thing. Oh, you're good, you're bad, and then for the other side just flip it. Oh, you're good, you're bad. It's like we're doing this like a nonsense game to just keep people distracted, obviously, but it really does is just creates like these really, really biting divides with people where nobody wants to even, like, you'll see someone say 2 + 2 is 4, but if they're on the other side of the aisle, you would disagree with them. And I'm just like, we're getting people to deny reality because they don't like the side that's saying it.
Yeah, and I think even those terms, black and white, like white people aren't really white, black people aren't really black. So it's just saying that white and black are the opposite. So, go at each other. It's like a chessboard.
100%.
Bingo.
This is post-racial. See, what you're saying is actually real. Like, you do need a bit of racial consciousness. You do need to know what it is. You need to kind of like reconcile it in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to reconcile the paradoxes of race, just like I've had to, just like we've all had to, post 2020 especially. And you can't go far wingnut either, because that's like being, when people say horseshoe theory, they'd be like, oh, like being far left is the same thing as far right. And I could never see it back then. But now
Yeah,
I see it.
some truth.
There is definitely truth to it for sure.
100%.
So I just feel like I do think a middle pillar approach, but I also think that doesn't mean have none. Like, I'm for people having their racial consciousness for sure. And I also think sometimes binaries can be useful, but I think that the ones that they push on us, like as labels, are always the ones that are not useful. The most useful binary in terms of, like, if we're saying modern politics, is probably the American, non-American dichotomy. Like, you have to know what that is.
Yeah.
To define the antithesis.
And all binaries are...
Yeah, I got you.
Well, it's okay.
But yeah, it's not good to think in black and white. And while there are polarities, there's all kinds of room in the middle and all of it.
Right. Well, all synthesis should happen in the middle. That's like Kabbalah 101. I think there's something really interesting about synthesis, and like who we are is not a rainbow body. So we're not like, we don't want to be a swirl, but neither should we be divided. There's an interesting idea there, because that's very mercurial. Like that thing that people take to be transgenderism. I'm not bringing this up to be a wingnut. I'm really not, I promise. But you cannot talk about Mercury or Hode without discussing this, because that's a lot of what that is.
Yeah.
So
Baphomet is like the mercurial devil,
right.
And
that's
he's a transgender. So
that's right. I have been working on this theory for this exact recording, and I have said it on a live before, but I never said it as explicitly as I'm going to say it right now. In my opinion, there are 3 expressions of Mercury or Hode. So you have Sirius A, Sirius B, and Mercury, if you want to say it like that. So you could say the whole Sephira of Hode is composed of these 3 planetary bodies.
Okay.
Mercury is the prince. Sirius A is the daughter. Sirius B, or Ketu. So you have to have an apotheosis of all 3 figures for the next yuga. That's kind of how the arrangement works. They synthesize at Tiferet. And so the flux is good, but saying that everything exists in this like nebulous, vaporous, you could say, or quicksilverine sort of like soup, that's not true in a relative or primordial sense, because there are distinctions that should be made. Identities are never really non-binary. What's non-binary about identity is that you can change. They're transmutable. They change in time and space. Literally, there's something very mercurial about identity itself.
It's almost like when you try to pin down the identity, it slips away. That's because right. It's not meant to be fixed.
That's right. It's not meant to be fixed. It's something that you use for a moment to contain what you mean, but it's not who you are fundamentally, because who you are is empty. That's how we would describe it. Or Diamond Thunder, or Luminous. So there's something that is like us that isn't fixed, and that's sort of what even we're talking about hyperspace kingdoms. That's also about what it is. It's like, can this be true? Yeah, 100%. Is it true? I think so. So, but it doesn't mean that it's like people should go out with spectral UVs and be like, yeah, I'm going to go up to the hyperspace kingdom. Like, I'm not saying to do that either, but I'm saying that you can hold both things as a relative truth. Like, yes, they exist, but no, I don't necessarily need to see them.
I'd like to go see them. But regarding the hyperspace kingdoms, I have a couple more points, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's go. I want to hear them. I want to hear all your.
So something interesting is, like the normal compass has 32 degrees, and like Freemasonry, and there's that honorary 3rd degree. And so that 33rd degree, Tracy saw as the step into that higher dimension. And she says it's physically real. And it's located at North Pole, at the Rupus Nigra, the Black Mountain, the Mountain of the Gods, or whatever. And there's a poem by the Priory of Zion that says, this is the Temple of Solomon, and it can only be viewed when light hits it at a certain way at noon, which is when the sun is at the top of the sky and puts out its whitest light. So that can be seen as the sun being the filter for that hyper-Uranian light, but that is when the most amount of that light comes through. If you see what I'm saying.
That just made me think of what the actual name was of the camera. It's the camera obscura, not the pinhole camera.
No, I appreciate that. I do have 2 notes for you, Zach, really quick.
Yeah.
Is an idea in Tantra where you call the both Mars and Venus, they can both be the morning star and the evening star, both, depending on the day.
Okay.
So there is something interesting about noon as like an interchange between the stars, between those 2 governing forces. And why I bring it is because I know you have notes on diamonds, and the planetary gem in Jyotisha, so tantric, and not just tantric, but a Hindu astrology, we'll call it, is a diamond. So that is the gemstone of Shukra, which is Venus. And Venus is actually really interesting because it turns counterclockwise. So it is ruled by an Asura, which I know, Zach, you also find kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that it has so many associations with Lucifer, or, the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little point.
No, I'm glad you said that, because let's see if we can talk about like this kind of Luciferic force. Good Friday, like Jesus resurrected on the Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And the story in the Puranas is the god of Venus, so Shukra, resurrected souls. His whole job was to resurrect souls. People were totally immortal. They were diamonds. That's the idea. But then the gods were like, you cannot do this because you're disrupting the samsaric cycle. This
is kind of off the point, but it has to do with Venus. I find it interesting that Muslims, Friday is their holy day, right? Which is Venus's day. And even in their logo, that little star is supposed to be Venus within the moon. So I always found that interesting, like the Venus symbology within Islam, because you would not think it would be there,
the idea in the Persian, like the Mughalized, like the Islamified astrology, but the Mughals were really taking it from the North Indians. I'm not saying it's Indian or Jeed. I'm not doing that thing, but I'm just saying that the Mughals were not writing original texts. The Mughals were actually borrowing it from the Vedic stuff, and then the later, like the tantric stuff. That's really what became grimoires. That's why I find that sort of nexus point so interesting, because they were talking about fundamentally like the same thing, and that planet is not in that density. So in the density of it as a planetary body is a male deity. But Friday is, of course, associated with the goddess, the primary goddess, because that is she's at. Well, I know in Kabbalah they think of Netzach as 7, and that also works because 777. But then also you have in Tantra, it would be 10, because that is kind of the finality. It's something that is both luminous and appearance existence. So she exists, but she is not. There's something that is a little missing. It's like the consort of God, like her husband. He's not fully there, because he's not. He's like up higher. So when she's here, the full expression of her is the golden light through the diamond. And the more pristine the light, so the whiter it is, Zach, like exactly like what you were saying at noon. At noon, Venus is directly said to be above us. So the more pristine the light, the more infinite her compassion.
And I believe there's 2 aspects of Venus. I'm not sure if this is Sumerian or what, but there is like the morning sun, the morning star, which is like Lucifer. But then there's also the dusk sun, which is like the shadow, the dark side of Venus, if you will. I can't remember the gods' names exactly.
I use the Hindu names or tantric names, as you all know, but I think that they're the same. I think Chandaka is Astarte. I don't think it's like some grandiose thing to say that they're interrelated, at least.
You're pretty, so am I.
I'm flat.
Yeah, I think there are differences, and it gets very confusing and convoluted.
Well, I'll say Tara means star, like the green Tara from Buddhism. Her name means star. Tara from Tantra as well. And I think that I think that she is like a fallen star cult. That's the idea. She fell in 51 pieces across the land, and then we rebuild her corpus through the practices. So I think that there is a perennial story.
I
So,
would say
yeah.
I would say I'm a perennialist in the sense that I do think these things do have a common origin. I am not in a I do not believe in a like new perennial order that we should subscribe to, like
Yeah, I agree to that.
or like Evola.
No,
I think that system. It's weird too because Evola was a Catholic and Guanam ended up becoming a Muslim, and it's like if you're gonna go back to the Aryan tradition, quote unquote, then it's like Hindu, it's Vedic. So I'm not sure. It's very weird.
Well, I think that the thing with Hinduism is that it's a very misunderstood tradition, and what it is.
There's not really such thing
It's
as
not very
Hinduism.
historical. That's right. So you have to distinguish Puranic Hinduism, like what Hinduism became after the 10th century. The Puranas were written way before this. Like they were written since like the 2nd and 3rd century compiled. Although there was definitely written history in China for quite a long time, and there was written history in like the Swat Valley in what we call Odiyana, like Kashmir, Pakistan, North India, and Nepal, obviously. A lot of what we know pre-1st century, we don't know that much. In all totality of truth, like that, a lot of what we know is like a kind of reconstruction based on hypothetical models. It's not really it's not very accurate. Like a lot of what I'm not saying that the science is inaccurate, I'm saying, or the methodologies to discover what is the truth, but from like a Buddhist perspective, like even the way they give Buddhist chronology, that's not how it's understood in Tantra. We understand ourselves to be part of an axial age religion, really, like very Carl Jaspers. I think I even brought this up in the last episode, but I think it's just worth repeating. Is like it's not perennialist, so I wanted to correct myself too. Is that it really is about like reemergent kind of, but it's anything that's reemergent has to be parts traditionalist as well as parts new. It cannot just be a singularity. I think this also goes back to the discussion on Mercury and the camera obscura. Like the singularity is something that is perceptual. It can happen at any time. It's not reliant on ages. I think that's the difference between an axialist and like a perennialist. Like an axialist knows that in any time that sort of perspectival light can appear. Because it's also a magical experience, right? To see the eclipse. Like Nick talks about this a lot, like the black sun and the eclipse. And so I think that that's really it's more of like an internal, it's about the process of consciousness and the layers of consciousness and clearing the consciousness, like very Kabbalistic or very Buddhist. And so you're just getting to this like place of the black sun, really, and then you're going beyond what that is. Some people say it's nothingness. I don't say that because I'm Buddhist, so we say it's emptiness, but we also call it a name, and we also like say it's light and sound at the same time, because words are very fundamental to Buddhism as well as Christianity.
I wanted to say one or two more points just
Sorry,
about
Zach,
the tracing board.
No,
I know. All right, but if you look at, there's a Masonic tracing board where in between the two pillars there is a ladder going up to the gateway, to that middle sort of larger sun, or I believe in this one it's like an all-seeing eye, and the ladder is shown leading up against nothing. So the picture is trying to show you that there is a fourth wall, an invisible wall.
Yes.
So it's pointing at that dimension that you can't see.
The ladder goes through a portal into the other dimension and is supported on the other dimension.
Yes, and there's another tracing board where if you look at the stairway going up, the stairway to heaven, the stairs are non-Euclidean. Like they look like they're going down and up, and it's very strange depiction. And obviously it had to have been intentional, and that also kind of has to do with this hyperdimensionality.
I totally agree. So I'm going to say a crazy theory, but we're just going to, well, you don't have to go with it, but I'm going to go with it.
I'll probably go with it. Let's hear it.
I do think that there's two kinds of consciousness. Like, interesting that both Sachi and Patrick got brought up this episode, because each of them has sort of a distinct idea. She's definitely more into this purified, like Yesodic kind of like saint-like, crystalline, starlight consciousness. And Patrick's definitely more into the Tiferet, higher vibe, like receiving the divine light directly from the source. Both are dangerous. I'm not saying it's like you're playing with very powerful things. I think both are actually valid. This is what I came to realize after Patrick came on. I was like, actually, I think both are the real thing. Both are sort of the synthesis of sun and moon. There is a non-duality that appears where reality is not fixed into space. The staircase around you is not fixed into space, but you are fixed into time, because time is conceptual and of the mind. And if you are in the mind palace, I'm just calling it that because everybody knows what I'm talking about, you get to be the grand architect in a way, if you can master that non-duality of the mind palace. Because there is definitely it cannot go away from how much tantra has in common with Western Hermeticism. I think that there's something really interesting with that. Like that's sort of the idea, is like even the trans flag that we brought up, you're carrying the swastika, it all folds into one, but it's not about the one, it's about distinguishing the truth in the many. There's something fairly deep about that, I feel like.
Yeah, it makes me think you could internally build your own enlightenment, and you could also receive enlightenment from an external source, is kind of what I'm seeing from that.
Well, that's a very Tracy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To like receive messages from another space, or scry messages, because a lot of the Masonic tracing boards, I posted one today, it's like someone is holding a pendulum. I think it looks brass in the picture. It's a tracing board, but it looks brass. And so holding it above a chessboard with the two pillars, and like you see the left hand coming out of the pillar holding this pendulum. That's obviously for scrying, for like asking spirits yes and no questions, something that Tracy was very well known to do.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's sort of like that image I brought up earlier where they have this scrying board. They're letting through this light through their lodge, and then it's like a mirror, and then it projects onto a table. I don't know if it's giving them a message or a map or showing them
Blueprints.
some sort of hyperdimensional object or what it's doing, but it's obviously depicting something like that.
Okay, so taking it to Freemasonry, wouldn't it be interesting if it was giving them blueprints not of another world per se, but of how to harness the energies of the world we cannot see? So like building things in a specific way, like how temples must be in Hinduism, temples must be constructed according to the chakras.
That's like the technology. It's like a spiritual technology to construct a temple within a certain way. I want to relate this to the idea of the North Pole, like the Rupus Nigris.
Let's do it.
And if you look at the tracing board, the first and the second pillars, Yakin and Boaz, they are poles. And you know this because around each of the tracing boards is like a compass border, and it puts east at the top, you know. So the left and right pillars represent the north and south poles, but the board shows us that there's a third pole like beyond the north and south poles, which is this higher dimension, which can't be found using our 32-degree compass or your 32-degree construct mind.
I would just say that, Zach, it's not that it can't be found using a 32-degree compass. It's not that it couldn't be found, but it couldn't be perceived. Because I think you can technically find it, quote unquote, but you will not perceive that it's there. You might feel its presence or have some type of like feeling or whatever, but you're not going to be able to perceive it.
Or maybe you would just see like the ocean, like, because that's what our modern map says is at the North Pole, I believe. It's just like ocean, ice, whatever.
That's interesting. From the North Star, it's very hyperborean. Like it's like the swastika, that's clearly the North Star. You have the Ursa Major and Minor. So I know the Zack, you're like very interested in Mithras. Well, we have obviously I told you this, we have a Mithras in Buddhism. She's just a princess. She comes down from the
It's
North
like
Pole.
Varuna, right? It's originally Mitra, Varuna, and then they kind of split off.
Yeah,
Okay.
it speaks to the older Iranian dialect of Avestan. So she's one of the oldest continuously worshipped goddesses actually in probably the world, to be honest with you. Because it's old. It's like really old.
It goes through so many different religions, older than Zoroastrianism, because Zoroastrianism uses Mithras within it.
That's right. They're clearly talking about something very similar, like a turning of the wheel, new aeon, a time of rectification, a time of psychism, sort of Age of Aquarius, but probably not as sicko as that 60s version was. Sort of new, right? But it's sort of traditional and sort of like that. You're saying like the mountain is Negrita. Well, I thought that's so interesting because if you look at a lot of what the tantrics say, the tantrics posited, and I told you this even, is that the 1700s represented the from black into red, and then the red comes into gold or white.
Okay.
But it can be both of those things, and that's sort of what it is going to be. So it's very alchemical in a way. So I wonder if it's like this is like an older idea of the mountain. Like when they depict it, they use the blackening, but it's just because it's not updated. I don't know.
The mountain seemed to be a perennial idea, like this mountain of the gods,
Mhm.
Olympus, whatever. There's a million different names,
Kailash,
but it also got me thinking. So this mountain is called Rupus Nigra, which means black rock, and everyone knows that Black Rock is the corporation which basically it basically owns everything in our world,
Yeah.
damn near. So it makes me wonder, like maybe that is Black Rock. Maybe that's where like they're located, and they own everything. Like they own this little slave world, and they're living in a real world per se.
That's probably what it is. Like
Yeah.
this is the idea in Buddhism is that like they are men at the end of the day, or they're so that's who our archons really are.
Yeah.
Yep.
They just have higher, more
Other people. That's really that's what I come down to with all this stuff is like, yeah, sure, you could have these beliefs of all these things, but there are real people, human beings that are actually doing these things, that are pulling the levers, that are commanding people. Sure, you can believe in the ideas of the power behind them, and there's some mystical aspect to it, because I'm sure they believe it, Like, I think they believe that they have some sort of mystical powers.
Well, they might come from these, like, angel bloodlines, these dragon bloodlines, where they have
this is
certain abilities.
completely possible, but what I just come back to is it doesn't really pertain to me. What pertains to me is what they do on this plane, what they're doing here, how they affect our world. That's really what matters to me.
Yeah, me as well.
I totally agree. I think Plus Ultra is real. I think Aeon of the Daughter is real, personally. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so like I'm full in. Like I'm gonna even leave this in, so I'll own it. Regardless of anything, it's very clear. It's almost like a clarifying conceptual idea I kind of been mulling over of like this. I've been feeling very doomer. So I feel like actually even just exploring this ideologically or cosmologically has sort of let that go away, because really the tantric story is very liberatory. Like the actual magical story is very liberatory.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, humanity just gets left in the slave world. Like that's never
Well,
so that makes me feel kind of actually good. Like makes me feel like, oh, okay, the series has like maybe we liberated some of the ideas from these lower forces almost.
I would say the Mahayana and the Vajrayana are forms of Buddhism are much more life affirming. Nietzsche liked to critique Buddhism as like the biggest form of nihilism. I think he was talking more so of the Orthodox Buddhism, but in the sense that life is suffering and the point is to commit metaphysical suicide, sort of, in a way.
So I will defend Theravada because we have to.
Yeah, and that's not my personal perspective.
I know, but I will just say, for the record, the Buddha
said the same about Christianity too.
It is just that we accept that suffering is an inevitable result of desire. Once you kind of figure out, but in Tantra, we understand that to be what it drives your own mind. What is first cause of your own mind. So once you clear all the skandhas, all the klipas, you make it diamond thunder, you get to this place of pristine consciousness. Okay, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to go up or are you going to go down? It's all about free will.
Yeah.
And I think it's another like Nietzschean critique is that like Gautama saw suffering as ultimately like fruitless. Like there was no reason for it. Like it should be escaped and should be ascended.
I see this world, our life, as like it's like a test. You don't know what you're being tested on. It's up to you to kind of use context clues to figure out what you're being tested on, and it's up to you to use your will, your free will, to pass this test. That's what all of these different religions are trying to do, is to try to set up the test, trying to show you what the test actually is. And I think it's kind of up to, obviously it's up to you personally to really decide what tests you think you're taking. But that's the point of it, is you're taking a test. This whole life is a test.
Well, it's a karmic cycle until we choose not to be.
I think my old view was more so like, the world is a vampire, very Gnostic. I was like, there's some kind of farming going on here. Like something's feeding off of us.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm sure that
that's
is
true.
true to an extent, but now I see life more so as the purpose of life is to create and to evolve. I don't,
Hear you say that.
and I think suffering is an inherent aspect of that, and
Yeah.
and helps in that. So I don't want to misrepresent Gautama Buddha, but from what I understand, he thought that the suffering was ultimately fruitless, and endless rebirth was ultimately fruitless, and it probably is.
I think that strife and struggle forges the man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
of course. That's what even the learning Kabbalah is all about. It's just like how we understand like the actual materiality of the things in our life.
Yeah, even Kabbalah views this world as a three-dimensional.
Absolutely. You can
Yeah.
actually gain the sword of Moses or call it back down. It's endless opportunity. What matters is evolving, increasing in knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, and and that's even what Freemasonry is. That's what makes Freemasonry kind of an interesting system, because it's like you have to go through it with so many other people who have their own motivations, their own worldviews, and you're sort of putting that aside to take on this like outer ritual, this outer performance.
Yeah. This is a perfect point for me to actually get to some of my notes here. I went through some of the different rites that they have. I'll shoot through them quick. Grand Holy Royal Arch is a lodge. Scottish Rite is obviously a lodge. I found out this morning through, the guy's name is Tim Kelly. He's of Our Interesting Times podcast. He was on Corbert's show years ago doing the episode 31 of Film and Literature in the New World Order. But he referenced in there that the Scottish Rite were actually MK Ultra contractors. I thought that was interesting. Next one, York Rite. York Rite has a bunch of different invitationals as well. Holy Royal Arch Knight Templar Priests is very interesting. Masonic Societas Rosicruciana, interesting one. The Tall Cedars of Lebanon, curious. Shriners International, just Grotto is one of them. High 12, Amaranth, Eastern Star, and the Masonic Youth Group, also known as the Demolay, which is named after Jacques Demolay. I think I might have referenced that in the last one. And then I would also tack onto there the P2 group that,
Italy, right?
Italy with Gladio and the NATO stay-behind armies. You could look into that. That's something that definitely should be looked into because of the most recent events that we've experienced. What I also had in here was Tracy's description of the inner and outer head. Inner head would be like a demon, a deity, or like a human intelligence, which could be.
I thought that's the outer head was the demon, right?
I mean, possibly. I mean, just the way I have this.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. You might be right. I'm not sure. Inner head would be this sort of intelligence that is commanding the outer head. So it could be a human intelligence. It could be a demon. It could be a deity. And then what I thought was interesting was, let me get to it here. This reads awfully similar to the Round Table group, the Cecil Rhodes and Milner group. If you're curious about this, I would suggest going to corbettreport.com/WWI-conspiracy, World War I conspiracy. It has a great video.
So shout out Drizzle, but Hugh's coming on. But yeah, Richard
Grove, yes. Oh my God, holy. Took me a second to get it. But yeah, he has a nice interview with Richard Grove. But here's a quote from, this was taken from The Anglo-American Establishment by Carol Quigley on page 3. Their plan reads like an outlandish historical fiction. They will form a secret organization dedicated to the extension of British rule throughout the world, quote unquote, and a, quote, ultimate recovery of the USA as an integral part of the British Empire, quote. The group is to be structured along the lines of a religious brotherhood. The Jesuit model is specifically referenced, dividing into 2 circles, an inner circle called the Society of the Elect, who are to direct the activities of the larger outer circle, dubbed the Association of Helpers, who are not to know of the inner circle's existence.
I think this is how a lot of secret societies work, is that there's different rings within it, and eventually
rings within rings.
Eventually it gets down to one person. I thought it was the outer head, but inner head, whatever. They are usually receiving orders from a demon or Babylonian deity or whatever the hell.
I would even say that nowadays you could even tack on AI. You could tack AI into that. You could tack a CIA intelligence agency in that. You could attach a Mossad agency around that. I mean, any of these intelligence groups.
Even in Clock Shavings, in Tracy's book, Clock Shavings, she had her own order, and she said she noticed there were at least 5 to 10 people that were linked to intelligence agencies. Absolutely. Like they infiltrate every single one of these groups, no matter how small.
Yeah, cultism and intel go hand in hand. I've had several people on here who have military backgrounds as well as magical order backgrounds. They can all tell you that this is the case. All of these 3 things I've come to realize through my discussions with other magicians is that a lot of the inner outer secret, like a demon, a deity,
a lot of it is.
That's what it comes down to. That's where I'm at with this. Is a lot of this stuff is being implemented or inserted into these larger cults through a main point, which is the inner head.
Yes. This is exactly how Golden Dawn and Astrum Argentum work, like almost identically. They have like inner and outer heads. They have people who are in both. They have go-betweens. They have bringing people over who they think are good, like who are going to be like useful magicians for their system. They definitely do. They poach from the outer heads. That's sort of one of the big ideas, just like how intel often poaches from the outer head, which is university.
But it did seem like in Tracy's, at least, the top calls were made so by like Baphomet was who she was getting her orders from.
I don't dispute, and I've thought a lot about this, is that I don't dispute that she was receiving orders from Baphomet, but what could that be, or is that like meaning something else? Now, I do think that Tracy was quite skilled with what I would call spirit work in the sense he was able to do something with it. Not everyone is able to do something with it. So, was Baphomet real? Is it a symbol? I actually think it's the ultimate symbol of plus ultra in a way, because it has like the as above, so below, everybody knows. But like even the several the head, like how these
the Templars,
the Templars, they would sever the statue's head, and
it's like John the Baptist's skull, I believe.
They would use his skull to scry, or I guess scry would be the verb, whatever it is.
They would write incantations onto the tongue,
or they would write it on a scroll of parchment and then put it into the mouth.
Yeah.
So I think that this is obviously, there's like an implication, you could say like an archaeotechnology, maybe clockwork is a good way to think of it. I also think that there is a spiritual component. Now, those things that say that they're specific spirits. Do I think that they are most of the time? Personally, no. But I take more of an anti-supernaturalist approach in that way.
Well, I do think a lot of humans will, obviously, like in any powerful group, a secret society, any cult or anything like that, humans are gonna project their own agendas onto everything. And some might even lie and be like, oh, they told me to do this, so we have to do this, even though you weren't told that by any being, you know? But I do believe that whether it was Baphomet or not, it did seem like Tracy was receiving information from other beings
100%.
that she did not have prior to that, because there are videos of it.
I haven't got to see any of the videos. I'd love to see them. The thing that makes me think that there's something to it is when she was talking about, was it Cain was describing how chess developed?
Yes, that's very interesting too.
That one got me took me through a little bit of a loop. I was like, okay, it's either she's, completely lying and she did know about this stuff and she's putting it into her book, or, obviously how she said it, which both of them could be their own magical incantations if you think about it.
Well, it's very parafictional, right? She doesn't have to. She can channel the spirit and like she kind of explains it. Even the way you do that, you have to have a container for the vessel, for the words, or the container for the meaning. So even your outer story, even if it's true, it's going to have slight paradoxes.
And she caught these beings lying to her multiple times.
Yep.
And so there was some truth mixed in there that she found out later to be true, but they would lie to her. They would mess with her because they're trickster spirits, kind of, in a way. And I think that chess is so fascinating because I believe Cain said he was the founder of the Aryans.
Okay.
And he said that the original chess was named like Agio.
Yeah, yes.
And it was set up in a certain way where it wasn't really a game. It was a ritual where it didn't really matter who won. It was about killing the king, like setting an intention and going through the steps and then killing the king,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
that even makes sense in a tantric way, in like a more tantric Indian way. You have the two sons, the one with the elephant head. You could also say that's very Baphomet. So he's depicted in the extremes of like celibacy or hypersexuality. So it's just a cultural way to interpret the same thing.
It is interesting too that they have that black and white, checkerboard.
It's major. Any tantric temple will have black.
Yeah, any Masonic temple.
Any Masonic temple, and then you have the other son, who is Kumara, who, if you know, theosophy has pervaded a lot of like Western esotericism.
Yeah, I try to stay away from theosophy,
but it's something is because it is telling a little bit of the truth, like kind of like the spirits did with Tracy.
Yeah,
it tells a little bit of the truth, but you have to figure out what that is. It's kind of like a puzzle. So there's the Kumara, who is the Skanda. He is Shiva's true son, like the true son. And he is said to be the inventor of chess. He also holds the key or the spear, very Christ-like in some ways. And in Buddhism, his name means consciousness, but not the fifth consciousness, which is like the kind of empty, pristine Diamond Thunder mind. It's the consciousness in like expansion and explosion. It's kind of like it's fission. That's the idea. It's like fission. It's very nuclear. And he's always associated with a pink ray, a pink and gold.
Interesting.
And interestingly, he has two wives. One is a Brahmin and the other is a Chandali, meaning a tribal or an outcast girl.
There is one more thing. It's kind of an off note about clock shavings I wanted to say, though, that I found really interesting, is that one of the spirits was telling Tracy about how there were like these 12 races of Atlantis or Eden, and most of them died off in the flood, but there was 3 remaining, and I think they were the Aryans, the fairies, and the underground race, which I found fascinating because I was trying to just kind of contextualize that in my head. Are the underground, is that like Nagas, you think?
Nagas, they live in the subterranean realms under the earth.
but it also seemed like there was a humanoid aspect to all of these.
Is. So
Like the ancient Aryans, obviously, it's not just, white people like the
no, it's not.
like the Nazi idea.
I've seen red-haired girls with it.
Yeah. So maybe that's like a
To me, they identify as Fae.
as Fae.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had to.
Well, no, I think this is really interesting because I think that you can take it mythologically and say, okay, the fairies, the yakshas. We have a more broader idea of what the nature spirits can be. They can be all the different forms. They can be small and big. They can be a more dwarven. That would also be a yaksha. Or they could be fairy-like. That could also be a yaksha. Or they could be a tree spirit. That's also a yaksha. So it's more of a broader category.
But it seemed like, and who knows, like if this is the truth or not, but it seemed like what the spirit was saying was that these are like physical races that are still on the earth. They're still walking.
Yes,
which is
and so you do kind of have the same, maybe we'll say a perennial theme that runs through a lot of the new occult, we'll call it new occult tradition. Because you see this in Left Hand Path stuff too, like Descendants of Cain, the Chaonites, like all this stuff. Yeah. Who are they? And are you one of them?
Tracy's friend was like, she was friends with Nicholas DeVere too.
Race.
Yeah. And I guess he kind of wants them to take over the world, but
yeah, she had like a weird falling out with him, her writing his book for him or something.
Yeah, and she said all of the people in that order are like absolutely insane, and they're all obsessed, with their blood. I'm more pure than you.
It
gets into that weird stuff, but I think there is truth to it. I think there are certain, we know, like Rh negative blood that like scientists aren't really sure where it came from. There's certain genes that people have which may make them more capable of doing magic, maybe. Absolutely. I'm not sure, but I think that is pretty
possible for sure.
We don't. We just don't. I agree with this. I agree that there are expressions, genetic, perhaps you could even call them, but we would just call them karmic expressions. Like some people are just more capable of doing it. We wouldn't tie it so much to materiality, but I agree that there's an expression that you could recognize. We would call that the signs.
I've even heard of in like Tibet, maybe there's Buddhist monks, and people said that they've seen them flying. Like they literally have seen these people like levitating off the ground and moving around. And the explanation is that they've been incarnating there over and over again. So like they've been training for multiple lifetimes.
That's the idea, is that you use this lifetime to master yourself, whatever that is. And so you can inject yourself back into a rebirth of your choice until you are able to skyfly. Or guidance or whatever,
or any cities,
or you raise yourself to like a higher position on the tree. So, but what's the perfect rebirth is a monastery where you're going to learn all the magic and you're going to actually have more lifetimes.
Well, that's like the Mahayana idea, right? Is that you want to reincarnate as a bodhisattva to liberate all beings.
Go to a Sukhavati or a Pure Land or whatever all the different Pure Lands are. There's million of them, but you go to one of them which is it's like a little easier, a little materially, it eases the burdens like of what this slave system is. But then if you also think of it like some of the archonic issues that we face is because we are so discoherent that we do let like just like a small group of men rule us. I'm not saying like violent revolution or anything like that. I'm just saying, isn't it interesting that like a lot of the spiritual ideas are like in relationship to the sort of suffering that is totally, it's not inevitable in some ways because it is sort of perpetuated.
I think the bigger problem is just like the masses of people that are just, they don't care. They have no idea what's going on. They're just watching fucking Jersey Shore, whatever.
Yeah. What I'd say is that how Jim was hinting that he's not talking, we don't need a violent revolution. Absolutely we don't. The whole point of it is you need to stop giving these people power over you.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to, is we are the ones giving them the power. We are the ones listening to what they say, follow their rules, do all of these things.
Yeah.
At the behest of the
right? Like that's where they derive energy, love and hate. Steve Bannon just talked about this, is that he was like, Elon requires your love. It is his glory. Well, if you're like anywhere decent at Kabbalah, you would understand exactly what he's talking about. He's deriving the love that people speak to him, that people encapsulate in words, and he's taking of that and transmuting that. Now, do I think Elon's necessarily real? I'm not sure, honestly.
I
He's
want to
a-
give, I don't want to give him any of my love personally.
And I think that was just a really interesting thing that he said. Maybe he's telling you in his, QAnon-ish way, and he's like very into this idea of like Saint George and the Dragon.
Mhm.
Well, St. George is famous for taming the dragon or slaying the dragon. So maybe he's teaching you a little third technique to do that.
Yeah, who knows what that dude is up to?
You're 100% right.
I know Tracy said that Genuflect was based off of Mike Bloomberg, and she said that he is ultimately trying to ascend like Mithras and escape out of this world. And she said that Elon Musk is likely trying to do the same thing. But who knows? At this point, it seems like he's more so of a lower puppet of someone else, just trying to.
Well,
he's like a social engineer in a way.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like a created character, in my opinion, because he's this of many different identities. So he's kind of like the perfect vessel. He's almost the adamantine man, but he falls short in so many ways.
And he has some weird connections to Warner von Braun.
Right. And
yeah.
Well, they definitely think he is like the Moonchild or capable of producing him. Like, or producing her, if you want to say it like how I would say it. But, I mean, I think this is the thing. This explains his fascination with Mars, because the next era is like a Gavura. That's the sort of the governing force. Mm-hmm. So Mars, Gavura.
Sort of. Mars seems almost like Discordian in a sense, where
it can be discoherent.
And it seems like that's what Musk is some sort of Discordian, where he's like just this chaos agent, sort of, in a way.
And it's interesting because that is what the fire of Gavura at its maybe higher quality is. It is something that breaks away aggregation. But when the heat is too uncontained, it starts to burn the actual prime materia, like the alchemical gold inside. So you have to temper it with the heatless fire. This is the whole idea of like creating the philosopher's stone, right? The fire in tantra, we would say, is pink, but it's arising from like the red. But it's because pink is a cool color.
So this is off the topic, but do you guys think we have enough time to talk about the diamond symbolism? Okay. So yeah, the diamond that we're talking about is like the Superman logo diamond.
A brilliant round.
Yeah, the brilliant round diamond, which is supposed to, it was designed to refract like the maximum amount of light.
Mm-hmm.
It perfectly reflects light through it. And even just like the Superman symbolism is interesting, because that diamond, that logo, sort of looks like a womb. And you can see Superman wears his underwear over his pants, sort of in that shape. But also the idea of the Superman, you see it in both Nietzsche and you see it in Crowley. So Nietzsche was more so his idea of the Übermensch, the overman, which is sort of just an evolved man who's past the point of conventional morality and is sort of like a perfected being in a way.
Adamantine man, maybe you could say.
I don't want to totally butcher his idea because it's a lot more complex than that, and I believe Crowley's idea of a Superman was using sex magic rites to breed a like a homunculus, a divine being, by trapping a spirit in a human incarnation, basically, like a moonchild. I was just going to go a little bit more into just the the Superman aspect. Is that it is tied? It's known to be tied to Jewish identity, Superman. But there are images, like I've sent it in our little chat the other day, where Seth Rogen in a movie, it might have been Knocked Up, maybe, he's wearing a Superman shirt, but it has a Jewish star over the Superman S, which is interesting. Or if you go to this, there's like a South Park episode where they're at like a Jewish camp, And all of the Jews, they have their hexagram in, but then they have the Superman diamond around it, which is interesting. And there are some Rothschild connections. I didn't write those down exactly, but apparently the original Clark Kent is based on a Rothschild. So I found that interesting.
No, it is also to bring something Zack S said. Sorry, Zack S. Is I'll let you. I apologize. Is that Cecil Rhodes? Yeah, he ran a diamond mine in South Africa. With the S inside, the S is very serpentine. You could say Leviathan, maybe.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely.
So Rahu. So I said that there's an idea. I'm working on a theory that the Hode has 3 expressions or Mercury has 3 expressions, and I said like okay, but then I think that 17. Having like this idea of the 17, which is like the star card, and then the diamond. So you have the whole, like the Scarlet Woman and the dragon together. So there's also an expression of there, just like Rahu is dualistic, because he has his head and his tail. Well, his tail is at Mercury, and his head is at Venus.
That is interesting.
You know, because you can sort of understand it. It's like that. Even the idea is like when you were saying that, I was like, oh, Nietzsche's talking about Kabbalah.
I didn't even think about the S either, which is
no.
I hadn't even thought about that. Said something, but okay. So this brilliant round cut diamond, so it has a 58 total amount of facets, which 58. Is 58, which is a number associated with Baphomet. But 58 5 + 8 is 13, so that's a very Baphometic number. But on the surface of the diamond, if you're looking at it from the top down, it has 33 facets. And Tracy pointed this out. If you look at the azimuthal equidistant map, which is like the UN map that a lot of flat earthers like to point at, that also has 33 facets. And the 33rd facet in both of them, like the irregular facet that's perfectly round, is right in the center where this black rock would be located at the North Pole.
It's right where Mount Meru would be, like the tantric cosmology with the holy mountain in the center. Yeah. That is also the Tower of Nimrod. It's also the pillar. It's also like all of these things, and it reaches up beyond the sun and the moon.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep within our mythology and like within our consciousness. We all have this perennial idea of there being this like secret tall mountain, like a mountain you can't even see the tip of, where the gods live.
That's interesting. Also, sorry to bring up Kurkula, but she is said to live on the. Her grotto is at the peak.
Okay, it is.
Like she is kind of like the theme of the Aeon in a way. That's how it's described.
But this diamond idea, it's also connected to the concept of the Royal Arch Keystone.
That's interesting.
That Royal Arch is seen in a lot of the Masonic images, but this diamond is used as a seal to plug a hole at the top of this arc, which can be seen as like the arc in the sky of our world, like how we were talking about that center pillar.
It's almost like the perfect keystone.
Yeah.
And then you have like the Diamond Thunder Sun, so the perfected man, because it doesn't have to be like a mythological figure. It could just be someone born with the signs and marks, as how we would say in Buddhism. So then they have to, but they have to forge themselves. They have to like pass through all the trials. They have to overcome all the obstacles, and then they are perfected. And then through that perfection, they are able to turn the wheel of time.
That's a big thing, like the perfect man, which is usually described as Jesus.
Well, he definitely, in my opinion, I think that Jesus served as this kind of Mithraic, because Mithras is really the covenant or the treaty, as we talked about this. He's the god of equivalent exchange in a way. Like nothing happens for free. Nothing.
Exactly.
Something requires something for something. So the treaty is the sort of thing that you can tell that there's like a treaty worship element in our world. Like it's so obvious. They sort of
that's
they treat them very sacrosanct.
The god of contracts, Mithras.
That's right. So I think that have a thing where they need to do this rising and falling god sacrifice. I'm not saying Christianity is not real. I actually think it's real. I think that in some ways it's interesting because it forged like a new covenant, so people could sort of take of it and make of it what they wanted to. I'm not saying they did a good job. I'm just saying that they had the opportunity. So I think there's something interesting here. Obviously it can't be Elon now that we're talking about it because he has too many flaws. The hero
Oh no,
couldn't
definitely
have,
not.
the sun couldn't have so many flaws.
No, but so this diamond in the Royal Arch, it's supposed to act as a deck prism, which filters and amplifies this hyper-Uranian light from above, and then illuminates our realm below it, which
makes sense.
Yes, I was just about to say, if you had Genuflect, I just was looking at the page where there's right here, 348, chapter 25. There's a couple pictures of I guess they're like arches, Royal Arch Lodge, Union Royal Arch Lodge of Limerick, and this one's some other one. But the keystone at the top of the arch is missing. There's no keystone there, and there's an eye behind it, and the light is shining through the keystone. And I think what you're kind of getting at is, and what I think Tracy was kind of getting at is there.
Which page did you say? 3. Okay.
It might be different because you got the updated version. Yeah, but you see what I'm saying is there's the pillars, and then the arch is being formed, but the arch, the keystone's not there. The eye is behind the arch, and there's light shining through. And I think what you're getting at and what Tracy was getting at is that the round, brilliant diamond is the quote unquote perfect keystone to transfer this light to our realm. I don't know how that really pertains, but
I think she wrote it as the sun is a diamond. It is this filter that's blocking out the greater sun behind it, this hyper-Uranian light. But then she also seems to think that maybe this brilliant round cut diamond is the shape of our Earth and I guess our cosmos too, because she equated that Wen map to that, because it's the same. It's like the same exact shape if you put them side by side.
Yeah, so that's what our realm looks like. That's what our realm looks like. Now you can think of it as conceptual as well. And I think both of you are really open to this interpretation. It's like very conceptual. You can think of it like as a magical experiment or a psychedelic experience. Not that those two things are exactly the same, but very close. Or an NDE, or like there's lots of ways to experience the same thing, but it all comes down to like how much is your view clear? Like how much are you able to take of that and make of it?
How much are you able to perceive of it?
That's right. Yeah. Like if you come away,
keep coming
because I've had experiences, psychedelic and meditative experiences, where I come back and it was so like I didn't even know what to think of it. It was so in my face, and I was like, "There's no way for me to even interpret this." It had nothing to do with my life, or I couldn't. It was just way over my head. But then I've had other times. Or like a dream, you could you can analyze your dreams and you can come away with some stuff, but certain dreams you have, it's complete nonsense. You're like, how could that possibly ever pertain to me?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just too dumb to understand, but yeah.
Isn't it interesting too that like we all have this association with like Project Monarch? I was just thinking because dreams, there's elements of like Psyche and Iris have the association with butterflies, and then we have this idea of Project Monarch and like it's associated with like mind control. But like what is really mind control? Like I think we all laid out. I think that the two of you did a really good job. It's like perception. It's like how much you're watching it, how much you're understanding of it, and how much are you really engaged. Like are you in a reciprocal relationship with it? Are you giving it your love or hate? Same thing.
And
that's an interesting idea too.
I think mind control, like, is a useful tactic if you could do it to yourself. Like, there's ways to hypnotize yourself.
I think a lot of people try to do that.
Yeah, and it works pretty well. I mean, maybe not as well.
It's probably
as,
what there's like self-help books.
Yeah,
that's what people are reaching for sure. Like they're looking for something better. They're looking for something more. We've lost that, like, just completely. That's why like all this, like a lot of the, I'm not anti-left-hand path. I'm just going to say it now. Everybody kind of knows this. I'm not saying anything new, but I'm just saying, so when I'm critiquing it, it's not my critiquing of it per se, but I think that the way it's gone so like out of control is because of this same reason. It's like people are not understanding it to be like what it really is, which is really like this interesting way to see the inner reality, to apply this thinking, apply transgressive thinking, the inner palace. Like it's really dangerous, but like have fun.
It also depends what you mean too. Like I think we talked about this last episode by like what you mean by the left-hand path.
No, it's very much of the mind.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's saying that like a lot of the same things I realized as chaos magic, which I really had an affinity for in my early 20s. As I would read like a lot of the other grimoires, like a lot of the left-hand path, like small print press ones, and I would just be like, oh, I'm just going to apply it inside.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I was like a Buddhist in my understanding or view. It wasn't that good. But I'm going to say that like Buddhism does the same thing. So there is an idea there. You just have to be super careful with it.
Yeah. I certainly wouldn't call myself a chaos magician, but I do think that there is use in adopting different belief systems to reach different goals.
100%.
Whether that's magically or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like to say I follow Dharma and I practice Vajrayana. As far as beliefs go, I'm very conceptual. I'm okay to kind of like adopt or discard, but I like to stick to written text because I think that speaks to like your lineage or your practice or your view.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for me, that's what I like. But, Tracy wrote a lot about spirit channeling, which is something I used to try and fuck with all the time. And not channeling because I'm still like that. Like I would never let anything into me. They have this idea that like I would always try and do these crazy things with like Solomon and planetary sporadgics. And just I would try and do flame divination basically with Botanica candles and load them with like crazy mineral alchemy.
I would say what she was doing was a little less dangerous than channeling just because it was more so like the Ouija board.
Right.
I guess you are sort of letting it guide your hands, but it's not like you're letting it into your mind and then talking out a message from the being, like.
I will say that she did say that she kind of had like an automatic writing experience whenever
Oh yeah, that's true.
it wanted her to make the charter to her lodge.
Or like Drakenberg too.
Yeah.
There is something interesting I forgot to say about Baphomet that I meant to, was that 13 is like 4, obviously. But that, even though it looks like Baphomet, it's kind of like the outer form, like what you guys were talking about before, the outer head. Because 4 really refers to Hesed, really refers to Jupiter, as does 13, actually. 13 is a very lucky number in Jewish Kabbalah. So one of the most lucky.
I play it at roulette.
Well, it makes sense. It's like a very expansionist, powerful planet. It's the Vajra planet. It pulls the wheel of time along. Why wouldn't you take of it?
Yeah. And 13, 1 divided by 3, it's 0.33. Repeating.
So you can take of it, but you actually can take infinitely from Jupiter. There's this interesting idea that what holds us back is the oath. So again, going back to the severed head of Baphomet, we've seen several of these statues destroyed around the U.S. Interesting ways that they are killed in a way is that they are severed their head.
Yeah.
It's not like a religious thing. It's not about Satanism. It's about some other.
I don't think it is about Satanism, but I do think of Baphomet as sort of like a dark Sophia in a way.
It is
like dark wisdom.
That's what it is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like people are looking for something more. They're looking for that planet of spirit, like Jupiter rules spirituality.
I know I told you guys a story in our group chat, but my friend and I had a ketamine experience one time, and he went into a K-hole, and this is totally weird, but he told me when he came back that he was talking to Baphomet, which I thought was insane. We didn't really even know that much about like this kind of stuff at the time, but he told me the main message was to be more materialistic, I guess. It was basically like some Andrew Tate type advice. It was like bullying him and calling him like, he's like, what? Kind of just like taunting him and was like, you need to do something with your life.
Well, isn't the oath in your mind too? Like he's taunting him, bullying him. Isn't that like pushing of the boundaries?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to him about this recently, and he was just like, it seemed like a lot of cynical kind of, like red pill almost
Mhm.
type stuff, which I don't
Yeah.
know. It wasn't my experience, so I can't speak too much on it, but I thought that was totally insane because I've done ketamine a couple times and I've never had anything like that happen to me. So,
Well, it's also interesting if you consider it like maybe that guy, I don't know how that guy was before that experience, but maybe he was a little too spiritualist, like maybe a little too,
Ephemeral.
yeah, out of
yeah,
exactly.
it didn't seem like terrible advice. I know he was just going through like, I don't want to totally blast his business, but he was going through sort of a breakup at the time. And it was basically, I don't even know. It was basically like taunting him, telling him to like stop, stop
Isn't it?
being a pussy.
He was being the more plates, more dates guy.
Yeah, like literally that's what it reminded me of was like Andrew Tate sort of thing where it was like, get your life together,
Well,
man. Get
dialectics, right?
money.
Yeah, that's how they play the
Which
narrative.
it's not always bad advice, I guess. It didn't tell him to go kill people or, whatever.
Right.
So that's probably good.
I would say, yeah, you need to have a balance of the material and the spiritual. When you lean one way too far, you lose track of reality. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter way you're
100%.
leaning.
No, you're
100%.
correct. I think that that's what Baphomet even is there to do. I mean, I've never seen him, but I understand like the archetypal role that he plays. It's kind of like to remind you how to offer a corrective element to the path. Now, the problem of relating him to Ganapati is now that I understand that there might be a connection there, is that I know that Ganapati is both, it's very dualistic. He's both
Mhm.
and corroding at the same time. Whatever he giveth, he also taketh away. It's a very Ganesh idea in Buddhism. He's known as an evil god. Not evil as in like destroy you, but just that he's going to make your karma a lot denser down the line.
I
Whereas,
would say that Baphomet is very non-dual in a way because just like Abraxas, she's supposed to represent the unification of opposites. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 100%. Ganesh can never fully rectify the unification of opposites. So it makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
And so I don't know how to feel about Baphomet because I do like Abraxas and I know there might be a connection there.
I would just say that, like, yeah, Baphomet is its own little thing. There's so many ways you can go with it, but like, I would pull it back to be like, it still comes down to your will, what you decide to do. And I
Yeah.
think these entities or these influences that you interact with, they could be pushing you in the right way. They could be pushing you in the wrong way. It's up to you and your own will to kind of calculate
Oh, that's
Okay.
a good word too.
calculate which way you should use your will.
Yeah, I would say Baphomet is not a being that I would seek any refuge in or
Mhm.
pray to or even view as like a wholly positive figure because it's not. I mean, if you read those conversations with Tracy, it's very obvious that that's not the case. But it's the same with Abraxas. Even though I like Abraxas, it is a god that transcends duality, so it has negative quote unquote aspects,
Well, isn't it interesting that he, if what keeps us bound is the oath and the contract, and then severing the head is kind of severing the oath and the contract, then he's really becomes the god of the day sky, the clear sky. So, like, very Jupiterian. Like, he is just a vessel, is what I'm saying. Like, he's just an outer vessel. He's just the first thing that you perceive. Once you have no need for that, you can discard that vessel and you
Mm.
on to the next thing. Like in Buddhism, Ganesh is the gate guardian, but he actually doesn't he guards the outer gate, not the inner gate. That's the secret. His
Yeah.
father, Time King, guards the inner gate, like a Koronazon.
I would recommend people against doing what Tracy did and asking for specific advice from Baphomet just because yeah, a lot of it is probably useful. It's different than asking for information because some of that information
Mhm.
it's not going to hurt you either way. It's just what they want you to believe sometimes. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But asking for advice, these are very trickster like spirits. It's like asking a djinn for advice or like a fairy.
Okay, fine. I'll take it. I'll take that jab. But no, you're right. You're totally right. Like, you don't ask the hosts.
No, not you. I meant an Islamic. Okay.
But it was funny.
So no, I think that they're the hosts. This is Tantra 101. The first thing that appears to you is the host, not the deity. And so you have to be able to discern the host from the deity, because the hosts are not of the same quality as the deity. The hosts are just the hosts. The hosts don't even have to be enlightened in any capacity. They could be very world. So the things they tell you are not necessarily of the deity. Could they be relatively true? Sure. 100% happens so often. But the real quality of the deity is in the conscious experience, not in the perceptual awareness.
Yeah, Baphomet, or like I could relate it to a Dakini too, where it's like they could give you some advice, not an enlightened Dakini, but like a worldly Dakini. They could give you some advice. It could seem like they're trying to help you, and then you get royally fucked in the end.
And it backfires on you.
Yeah, or the opposite even. Sometimes they can appear scary or seems like they have bad intentions, but they're trying to help you. So who knows?
Yeah.
Well, it's very Dakini, right? Like you have the Pombagiras in Brazil. They're always depicted very Dakini-like very vampirella, red, often horns sometimes.
That's been my experience.
And so they can be depicted like that in Tantra, no problem. They can also be depicted as beautiful. They can choose to have the appearance existence that they want. That's kind of like the danger of them. But they are very non-dual, and they will threaten to, eat a naga, you could say.
Yeah.
So that really happened, and there's actually commentaries about that. But they didn't do it, but they threatened. So I just want to say that, but they do that. There's a skillful reason that they will say things like that. It's to break you out of the understanding of what that would entail, that you would lose yourself, that it would hurt, that it would be death, all of that. That's not to say those things aren't real. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that in a conscious understanding, that they want you to kind of be like, yeah, I can be post-conceptual. I can almost understand outside of understanding. Sorry, I know that was probably a little heavy, but you guys did a great job. I'm so happy with this series and this episode.
I thought this episode went really well.
We covered a lot of good stuff.
I agree. I know we got
it helped me to have notes this time.
Mm-hmm.
Hit every point.
Write it down. The writing it down part helps you remember it too.
But usually when I've come on this podcast, we would have a topic and then we would just go totally off, and we, that's fun.
I mean,
it's
still nice to have notes for like a timeline thing.
It's more natural and feels like a real conversation. But it was nice. It was nice to get through the actual topic.
I've heard you, Zach. I hear you. I recognize that I often take winding roads, but I think that.
Oh no, I'm not criticizing you.
Jin's holding space for ramblings, or I can't think of a good joke for it now.
I tend to think of what I do as more almost like, I'm going to use a really weird metaphor. It's like weaving spiders. It's kind of like you're bringing things into.
Well, that's what tantra is, right? To weave.
Well, that's what it is. One of the meanings. Yes, it actually does.
What's that?
Yeah, tantra can also mean to go beyond the stars. It's very interrelated with weaving and stars.
I would rather not have to prepare and write notes. It's more fun just to go off, though. I'm always down for whatever, but.
Well, we're going to do the episode on Jason Giorgiani's book. You and I, Zach and I, did an episode on Don Da Don, so that will have come out already.
What exactly is Don Da Don? I don't know if I'm.
It's a manga / anime that is like the hottest anime of the season. People are just crazy about it.
Man, I keep trying to get into anime, and I know there's like a lot of esotericism in it. But I can't. I don't know why.
Yeah, I got you. I understand how you.
I liked the Full Metal Alchemist. I liked that. Yeah. I watched Spirited Away, but I think everyone's watched that. That was good.
I think I've seen it one time. My girlfriend in college really fucking loved that movie, and every time she'd put it on, I'd fall asleep. I'm a bad person.
I liked it. I should rewatch it now because every movie has esoteric themes. But
yeah, I mean, it's been referenced a lot by like esotericists, and I'm like, yeah, I should probably go back and actually pay attention.
At the beginning, it is like Eden, where like these parents are like starving, and they see this big feast. and the daughter's like, don't eat it, and then they turn into pigs, I think, like pig hybrids, something like that.
No, there's something really like Island of Circe, like very, yeah, 100%. I mean, the other good ones are like Nausicaa is a really good one because it's actually exciting, it's cool, and
He's gonna give you all the weeby animes, so just
No,
be
I-
careful.
I started watching Attack on Titan, and
I
it's
like the
just-
first season.
It's just because people told me it's like a mystery box, and there's all these weird little mysteries, but
There
I
are.
didn't get that so far.
Yeah, go watch Death Note. I almost guarantee you'll
You'll
love
love
Death Note.
That's where like the guy can write a name and kill him, right?
Yeah, you would love it. It's very funny and it's very dark, but it's
I'll
real
watch
good.
it. Okay.
Berserk's okay.
Claim
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
awesome. It's about a eugenics breeding program that breeds these like
Oh,
yeah. I only choose esoteric ones. Come on, you're just joking about weed.
I'm just like, I've never fucking heard of this anime in my life. Where does he even pull these from, man?
So the girls have blue silver eyes and they have blonde hair and they have to fight demons. They're the only ones who can, and they die in like the craziest of ways.
What's that really famous? Like Evangelon?
Neon
Oh,
and
Evangelion.
Evangelion.
Fashion. I don't actually like Evangelion.
Okay. Is that the one that has like 800 episodes though?
It's not 800, but you're committing to substantive OV.
Then there is one that has like
One Piece.
yeah, One Piece is what
One
I'm thinking
Piece.
of, yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah,
Someone told me to watch that, and I looked at all. I'm like, I'm not watching this.
Okay.
dude, it's so funny that some like my two my normie friends, they love the One Piece, and they're like, one of them works on like a gas well and the other's like a teacher.
Yeah.
People.
I actually like One Piece. Monty has sold me on One Piece, so shout out to that. He did a great episode on that on his show.
Mhm.
But there's a little funny line in a different anime. Monty knows about this because I told him. It's called Inuyashiki. So it's really crazy and super violent. It's about like aliens and robots and like inhabiting, like taking over people's bodies, and like they go on like one of the guys ends up going on like a mass murder spree.
What's the one where people like replace their eye with like a demon eye?
Parasite, which is a much better manga than it is an anime, but it's a quite good anime.
The main thing I don't like about anime is just like the typical battle scene that kind of like that formula. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
That's
So-
I can't. I really only watch like horror movies and like
Well, Parasite's
trippy
very-
TV shows.
It's very horror, but I was going to say that about the Inuyashiki was that they made a joke in that series about how only people who like One Piece are like have no souls. That's the joke.
That's pretty
Because
funny.
only the serial killer has.
That's pretty funny.
There's actually a scene about he cries during One Piece, reading One Piece. He's reading One Piece and he starts weeping, but he has no emotions, and we know he's a serial killer by this point. So I don't know. It's a weird, crazy world out there. Thank you both. Thank you both for being a part of what has become quite seminal. The first. Let me just say there may be another podcaster who both listens, because I know he listens, as well as is planning his own, and that's totally fine. I'm happy that you will carry the mantle. But I also want to say that I was the first. So I just had to say that. Anyways, I'll let you guys close this out.
At Third Eye Homunculi on Twitter. Thank you, Jin, for having me on. Thank you, Zach.
Yes, thank you, Zach, for being here. Thank you, Jen, for having me on. I'm Zachary Schumar at Twitter, X, the Everything app. If you are interested in more material history, I would suggest going to CorbertReport.com. If you are more interested in the spiritual stuff, I would stick right here with Jen.
I agree.
Thank you,
I
Zach.
third.
Cheers.